From the gradual downfall of Antonio to the death of everyone's beloved Nadia, here are some of the times Chicago PD got serious. Starting with the time Kevin was forced to send his siblings away. So this moment is particularly sad because it involved Kevin Atwater's family. It's one thing to be a cop in a crime-filled neighborhood.
I'm not doing what you think.
So you're not moving product?
No. I drive his kid around. That you gonna put your own father back inside.
But it could also have an impact on your family because they're associated with you. We see a situation develop when Kevin's little brother witnesses a murder. When Kevin finds out, he asks his brother to give an official testimony, and from there, things go south.
Killed Malik for no reason. He was gonna kill me too, so I did what I had to do.
The testimony only makes the family look like the enemy, and it causes their little sister Vanessa to be harassed. This makes Kevin realize that he can't keep his siblings with him as he's trying to make it as a cop. So he has no choice but to send them away to Texas, where they'd be far away from the drama. Kevin had to make a tough choice, and you could feel the weight of his decision. He worked so hard to raise his family, but now he won't be able to see them, all the while knowing that he had no control over the situation. Now, as serious as this scene was, Nadia's death was a real shocker. Nothing makes the fans lose it more than when one of their favorite characters gets killed off. Dakotas was one of the most beloved characters, even though she wasn't a part of the main cast. Sometimes the writers tend to do that in order to build more interest. Now, what's shocking is that killing Nadia wasn't part of the original plan, according to the writers. It just seemed like a good idea, so they went along with it. She was kidnapped by a serial killer who sexually assaulted and murdered her, and then hid her body with the other people he had killed. Nadia was introduced to the show as a drug addict and a sex worker. She was given a chance to turn her life around, and she worked very hard to get clean and become a CI. Dakotas was even going to school and studying criminology so she could become a police officer. Everyone loves seeing a redemption arc, and Nadia was someone who deserved a happy ending. Her death, however, got the Chicago PD the conviction they needed to put Yates away, and she was also given the honor of a fallen police officer after her death. So at least her impact was reflected in the show, and we even see her friend Claire develop a drinking problem to cope with her death. But Chicago PD doesn't always use deaths to dim the mood. Antonio's downfall was just as significant.
Give me a gun.
Let's struggle.
Adam. That's enough. That's enough. It's enough. It's over. It's over.
Get up.
Throughout the show, Antonio was portrayed as this clean-cut guy. He was supposed to be Voight's second in command, but in season 6, we see him start to develop a painkiller addiction, which was the turning point for him. From there on, he had to deal with a number of issues in his family, and he put the entire department at risk with some of his actions. The addiction started earlier in season 6 when he was hurt and had to take pain meds. This was portrayed very realistically, as many people who have to take opium for treatment develop a taste for it.
Everything looks good, Antonio. There's no tears, no fractures, no arthritis.
Why does my shoulder hurt so much?
But this would be your 4th refill. I mean, that's a lot of oxycodone, especially for an injury like this.
It's a very real issue that the show highlighted. To see a guy who does everything by the book not be able to control his demons was tough to watch. Season 6 ends on a cliffhanger, but we find out later that Antonio is in rehab. His drug problem was identified earlier, but he refused to take any help. This was how the character was written off the show. It was later revealed that Antonio moved abroad and is now working with his sister. Now, as well written as Antonio's downfall was, it seemed a little rushed. This was because the writers believed they needed to write the character off the show. They'd gotten everything they could out of him, and the show had to move on without him. I've got to say, there are better ways to send a character off. One of the best things about Chicago PD is the relationships we see develop over the years, which made Ruzek betraying Voight hard to believe. Say what you want about Voight, at the end of the day, he always has your back. He assumed that his team would have the same loyalty toward him, but Adam was helpless and forced to take down Voight. It turns out that Danny Woods had some evidence on Ruzic's sister, which he threatened to use to throw her in jail. He also told Adam that he wouldn't be able to get custody of her kid. That was enough for Ruzic to do what he had to do to save his sister. Then he asked him to bring some dirt on Voight that Woods could use. And if you know how Voight operates, it's not a very difficult task for someone on his team to incriminate him. Ruzic managed to get the evidence he needed in order to save his own life and protect his sister. But he decided to tell Woods to go screw himself. That, however, didn't stop Voight from finding out and leaving him heartbroken. This wasn't something he was expecting, unlike Antonio's betrayal.
No, I didn't believe so, but it's possible. Okay. It's Antonio. It's Voight. It's our unit. It's our unit.
And the confrontation they had at the end of the season created a lot of suspense. For a second, I thought we'd see Voight cross the line and kill someone on his team. He has some rules, but everything goes out the window when someone so close to you stabs you in the back. But we've been heartbroken before. Aaron's departure was the hardest thing to deal with for some fans. Now, if you know everything that went on behind the scenes, it wouldn't have been much of a shock when Aaron decided to move on from the intelligence unit. When she ultimately left at the end of season 4, she was going through a rough patch and didn't feel like she belonged in the squad.
I gave this to Justin to add to his dog tags when he shipped out. Yeah, cheers now.
Earlier on, we'd seen her friend Nadia lose her life, which made her develop a drinking habit. And the guilt of not being able to protect someone she was responsible for made it hard for her to continue her job. Her issues with her mother only made things worse and pushed her to the extreme. So it was the right move for her to accept another job offer because she thought a change was what she needed. It was a little strange that someone who was such a major part of the squad could leave without being forced to. But Sophia Bush revealed after her character's departure that she was very unhappy at the show. She tried to continue for as long as possible when the show depended on her, and that was because she didn't want anyone else to lose their job. Nevertheless, Aaron moving on wasn't an easy pill to swallow for many fans. Aaron was an important character, but Justin's death was just as heartbreaking. Although Voight's son didn't contribute much to the show, but the way he passed away was very sad. Justin was trying to turn his life around and be a better person. He got married and started a family, and it seemed like things were going his way, which is exactly when life kicks you in the crotch. As he was trying to help a friend, Justin took a bullet in the neck. He's found by his father and Lindsay, who take him to the hospital, but he's already brain dead by that point. But the most heartbreaking moment came afterward, when the family had to pull the plug on him. As you'd expect, Voight went on a warpath to find his son's killer, which he was able to do, and he requested to be left alone with him. He was able to avenge his son's death, despite everyone's pleas for him not to take matters into his own hands. The gunshot, pulling the plug, and the aftermath created some of the most intense moments in the show. And that's all we have on Times Chicago PD Got Serious.